So, this is it. This is the final day we get together and come together as a church family and have this amazing send-off. I cannot tell you the joy that I have in my heart seeing everybody that has showed up for this. I mean, it just is amazing. From the new to the old and everything in between, it's just incredible. So thank you for being here as we come together and we say goodbye to a dear friend. Our beloved home that we've all been a part of for over 27 years. Think about that, 27 years we've been here. It's just incredible to me to think about that. You know, I got kind of nostalgic when I was driving here this morning, and I driving down 80 Drive, and I was telling myself, this is the last time that we're going to do this. And then I pulled into the parking lot, and I'm telling you, there's a big thump in my heart. And I thought, this is the last time. And then I sat there for a few moments, and I just looked at this church and the love that I could feel, not only pouring out from it to me, but from me to it. To think of everything that's happened to not only my life, but everybody else that's been a part of this thing for the last 25 years. It's mind-blowing. And so this morning, as we spend this time together, this final moment in this building, I'm going to ask you to do the same. What does this building mean to you? Some of us have been here a very short time. Some of us have been here a long time. And so it's going to be a little bit different for each and every one of you. And I would just ask you to bask in it, to feel it. Think about those times that we've had in this building together, in song, in celebration, in hugs, in tears, all of it, because it's all been a part of it. It's just crazy to think about it. And while you're thinking about that, think about the people that are here. But then we also take a moment to think about the people that are no longer here. You know, I think about Bob Hardesty comes to my mind. I think about Gene Stelma. I think about Hope Monroe. I think about Fran Brown. And I know there's so many other people that I could mention that I'm not mentioning right at this moment. But it's incredible what has happened in this building and the relationships that we have formed and life that has happened in and around this building. Just simply mind-blowing. So I spent some time over the last couple of weeks thinking about, well, what are we going to do? You know, what is this going to be like, you know? And as I started thinking about the history of this building, I wanted to share some thoughts with you that I thought were pretty mind-blowing. Do you know that there's been approximately just over 300 Sunday services that we've done over the last 27 years? 300. We've had approximately 25,000 people walk through those doors. 25,000. We have sung and played close to 2,000 songs. We've had at least 1,000, if not more, classes, whether they're adult classes or youth classes or anything else like that. Just trying to share this amazing message that Unity has. We've had hundreds of celebrations, both weddings and funerals, in this building. And I've estimated that we've had to have at least 50,000 hugs that have happened in this building. And hopefully we'll have some more today, right? It's incredible. And then I thought about all the volunteers. I think about all the board members now and in the past. I think about the Kitchen Angels. I think about the people that have been involved with the children's program. I think about all the different committees that we've had and have served this church over the years. I think of the ushers. I think of the maintenance people. I think about the AV people. There's so much more. I know I'm forgetting something, but I have a hard time believing that the people that are here this morning, that at some point in time, you've done something to contribute to this building and to this thing that we've had, this community that we've had over the last 27 years. It's just blowing, mind-blowing to me. And so I just kept thinking about, wow, go back and think about that. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Linda Soper. She's not here this morning with us, but if you go out into the lobby, if you want to have some fun, There's some history books back there, and there's some old directories. Be careful, because there's some pictures in there that might make you laugh, might shock you, right? But there's so much history in it, so I invite you to spend a few moments just flipping through those things and seeing some of the history of this amazing story here. So I was thinking about this time this morning, and I thought to myself, wow, go back to the beginning when it all started. And of course, immediately, I thought about Reverend Jim and Reverend Ann, you know? And so I reached out, and Reverend Jim called me back, and we started talking about it. And as we were having the conversation about this morning, I said, I really don't have a plan. I don't. And other than I really wanted them to be able to join us and to be able to share with us this morning. And so as we were talking about it, Reverend Jim said, I can kind of kick it around a little bit and see if I've got something from days gone by that might be kind of fun. And I said, that sounds great. And he said, but if you wanted to, you could just let people get up here and say what they want to say. I immediately knew that's exactly what we needed to do this morning. So, having said that, I just want to talk and just let everybody know that if you're so called, if you're so moved, and you would like to, I'm going to ask that you consider coming up here and sharing a few moments with you. Now, having said that, I'm just going to gently remind us that unless we want to be here until 2 o'clock this afternoon, that if you're going to come up here and share, and please do, just be mindful, that's all. Keep it to a couple of minutes would be fantastic. Having said that, I'm going to invite Reverend Jim and Reverend Ann to come up and share their part of this amazing journey in the beginning of this. Yep. Is that good? Good morning.
We're the Ashbys. We used to work here. Have you ever noticed how divine order or universal spirit, or maybe you want to call it spiritual intervention, happens in your life? And you think, oh, wait a minute. No way, that's not in my plan. It's not even close.
That's what I call spiritual interruption. And that's exactly what happened to us when we decided to start a new ministry in Grand Rapids. Looking back, we now begin to see how the essence and the energy of a divine order that was far, far beyond our reckoning was at work. It was unfolding on a daily basis, often in totally unexpected ways. It's amazing to see our original ideas and how much they were transformed by the work of divine energy, divine timing, divine order. We had no clue. Mike didn't have a clue about this service. We didn't have a clue about the ministry. And thank God that worked out pretty darn well.
The unexpected and unimaginable began for us, or for me, when my girlfriend said to me one day, you know what? You've got to try out this church, Unity Church, in Walker. I did. I loved it, and I was really hooked. That same friend invited me to go to this meditation group in this farmhouse. Well, I think Spirit had bigger ideas than I did that day on just a meditation. Because when the front door opened, in came this bearded man in bib overalls. And I remember what my stomach did, but my head said, uh-oh, stay away from that one. Of course, I didn't listen. Instead, I said, why don't you join me at this Unity Church in Walker?
You did.
I can't hear you.
She did that indeed. I did. I loved it. And I was hooked in more than one way. You know, it gives me pause to think that wasn't just divine timing. I was being set up. Good job, hon. After our first Sunday experience, we literally jumped into ministry with both feet. Whatever we could, we tried to do. Totally involved. We joined the choir. We did study groups. We got to meet that wonderful pastor and teacher, Reverend Dick Tweedy. He, in pretty short order, became our spiritual mentor and helped guide us throughout our ministry. It seems we had a divine idea that was unfolding that was also very near and dear to his heart. He envisioned 2 Unity churches in the Grand Rapids area. He had done so for over 20 years. He often taught classes in the Cascade area. And it wasn't long when the divine idea began to take root in us, in Ann and I. And instead of following the game plan that we had in mind, which was to become licensed Unity teachers, suddenly we found ourselves applying to ministerial school and being accepted. What a rude awakening.
Our hearts were saying, here I am, Lord, use me. Our minds were often saying, this is impossible. We can't do this. We don't have the money to do this. We're not even spiritual enough to do this. But it was amazing how many stepped up and felt the root of that idea flow in their hearts as well. As an example, I remember probably 2 weeks before we were expected to go to Unity Ministerial School. And I was a little stressed out.
A little stressed out? Honey, you were a basket case.
Well, I was, because we didn't have enough money to go. How would we ever be able to do that? And here I was, praying and affirming over and over and over for the exact amount we needed. And then Jen turned around and said to me, so why the exact amount? Don't you want a little extra?
I'm so practical.
And what happened was actually it was that very week, in our mailbox was a letter addressed to us. And in that envelope was this check. And it had the exact amount, plus more. And it was what was noted on that check that took my breath away. I read, we thought you might like a little extra.
See what I tell you? Yep, every time.
And that is the brief example how a nudge by a divine guidance brought two newly ordained Unity ministers in Grand Rapids to start the second Unity ministry.
You know, it's Jesus that was quoted when he said, "Wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them." And I remember that quote quite vividly because it was often used during our ministerial school years. And we found it quite comforting as we faced the challenges of going through school. But I have to tell you that standing on 28th Street in Cascade during the lunch rush hour with no place to call our church home, it fell a wee bit short of comforting. We needed a place. We needed a space. We needed a place to gather, and we weren't finding one. We approached schools, libraries. We went to other churches without success. Nothing seemed to quite fit. At last, we discovered the Lexington Hotel, which is no longer in existence. And with a resounding yes, we knew that the dream was real. We were going to do this, and the church had a home. It was named Unity Church of Peace, and it held its first Sunday service on October 18, 1992, at the Lexington Hotel on 28th Street in Cascade. Just a stone's throw from the Myers store.
It was sure breathtaking to see how many people stepped up and said, "Here we are. Use us." As a brief example, John and Claire Fairchild Kick, known as that then, offered to give us all the music equipment that we needed, including a keyboard. And they hauled it in every single week in their van. And other people came in and put up the hymnals and the chairs and became their own greeters for everybody that came in. And every week, not only did we bring it all in, we packed it all up and did it over and over and over for several years. We, I guess, had become a church will-travel spiritual endeavor. What'd you call it?
I used to call us spiritual gypsies.
And everybody was committed. And so, everyone being committed silently or even affirming verbally, "Here we are, Lord, use us." We were all instruments of a spiritual idea seeking to bring forth our lives, but the unity way of life to other people. And while we were those traveling caravans at the Lexington Hotel, Jim and I held the spiritual group settings and all the study groups in our home. And we used we used a very vacant bedroom as our first church office. And Barb Fairchild came in every single week to work in our office in Ada.
That was really when Divine Idea really started rolling. And if you're familiar with Divine Ideas, and I know we all are, they rarely give up. They don't quit. They just keep coming. So fast forward with me for a couple of years. Let's settle into 1994. Spiritual guidance, divine ideas are beginning to happen, and we need to move. We can't operate in the space that we're in. We wanted something bigger. We wanted something better. And fortunately, it was well within reach. It was just down the road from the hotel. It was the Cascade Country Square, an office complex that is still in existence. When we arrived to inspect the rental space, to our surprise and excitement, they were in the process of remodeling it. And the landlord said, "You know, we'd be glad to remodel this however you'd like." Boy, did the ideas begin to come. And then he said, "You know, and then another coincidence is the space next door to this one is opening up quite soon. And all we'd have to do is knock down some plaster, some drywall, put a door in, and you'd have wonderful space for offices and youth ed." We coughed, we sputtered, we muttered, we put our heads together, and finally, the only word left was, "Wow, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. What a divine idea. We will take it."
And 4 years later, in 1998, the unexpected happened again. We had grown enough to need a bigger building or a bigger space like our own church. One morning, sitting in the office at Cascade, the fax machine started humming. And I went over and took it, and it was an ad. And that ad said, Unity Bible Church, school then. Ada, excuse me, I'm so filled with unity. Ada Bible Church is up for sale. If you're interested, call this number. And with it was a picture of that church. This church. Now that was quite an awakening for me. I hadn't realized, at least I hadn't thought about it before, that divine ideas work through fax machines.
Amen.
We thought, well, it wouldn't hurt to take a look, would it? And so the board gathered up, and after Sunday service, we went over to take a look. We walked in. Holy cow, it was huge, we thought.
And underneath that thought was the thought, how could we ever afford this? It seemed far out of our reach financially. During this time, there was a longtime Unity member by the name of Priscilla Good who made her transition. And a part of her plan was to provide a blessing for Unity in Grand Rapids. Part of that plan was a bequest to the church. Long story short, it became the down payment on our first mortgage. The mortgage necessary to purchase 6025 Ada Drive.
Divine ideas are always complete. They don't have a beginning and an ending. They just are. And that's why our life doesn't seem to always go the way we think it should. Because we don't know what the future is, and we don't know how it should and will unfold. Not everything turns out the way we plan, but it always unfolds the way Spirit has guided us, and it's always greater than what we would have expected.
In this whole process, there was an ongoing truth, a great truth, that was being revealed to Ann and I. The truth being that a church is not a place. It has no geographical location. Because the true definition of a church is that it is a consciousness. It is the consciousness of the people who attend.
And that's the truth.
Amen. And if that awareness should only sit on the surface of our minds, it will have little opportunity to blossom, to thrive, and to produce. But when we choose to firmly grasp that idea and incorporate it into our being, refusing to let it go, there is a new collective consciousness that is birthed out of that. It has presence, purpose, power, and unlimited potential.
You preaching now?
Yeah. Bottom line, let no one and let no thing convince you of otherwise. Release the notion that the church is concentrically focused within and upon just a select few of you. Because in truth, it is collectively present and focused in each and every one of you. Therein lies your ability to access all that you will require to grow and prosper.
Okay, man. Enough of the preaching.
I got it.
Can I tell everybody a picture that just came through my mind?
Have I ever been able to stop you?
Probably not.
Be my guest.
It was years after that I was standing downstairs after service getting my cup of coffee. And Michael came up to talk to me. And I remember our conversation turned towards the process of becoming a unity minister. I don't remember everything he said right now, but I do remember seeing him look up at the ceiling, cross his arms over his chest, think about it, and say, I don't wish to become a unity minister. But what I would really love to do is create a program to guide the boards of the church how to use their spiritual guidance in their decisions. Do you remember that, Mike? Yeah. Looking back, it felt like you were saying, here I am, Lord. Use me in whatever way I can be of service. You have. Look where you are now. Spiritual direction is always actively moving us forward. And in case you haven't noticed, Spirit uses fax machines and everything else available, like church buildings, to provide not just what we need, but extra.
Currently, the two Unity churches are making a historic and a very bold and brave move, destined, I think, to revive and restore the spirit of unity in the Grand Rapids area. This revival, as I will call it, is truly amazing and definitely is working under the confines of divine timing. We are indeed all instruments of one great universal spirit, and it all hinges on one thing, just one: our willingness to say, here I am, Lord, use me.
And I, at this time, would like to invite all of us to affirm together that affirmation. Together. Here I am, Lord. Use me.
There is one thing, there is one trait, there is one focus that we all here today share in common. Each and every one of us, and I'm absolutely sure of it. There isn't a one of us that doesn't fit into this. And that shared thing, that trait, is a deep and abiding love for unity. Can I get an amen on that? Amen indeed. Ann and I are truly grateful to have been willing participants and instruments in the unfolding of the expansion of the divine idea that we all call unity. And we are also most grateful for the countless number of folks who have assisted and supported in making all that happen over the years. God is blessing you all as you carry on with the next chapter of your new spiritual adventure. God bless you.
God bless you.
Get my mic out. Thank you. No, I'll get it. Let me do this. There we go. So guess what? It's your turn. I do have one person, Bill Bussey, who needs to speak first because he needs to go downstairs and take care of some things in the kitchen for us afterwards. So I'm going to have Bill, could you come up? Actually, I want this up here.
This building
Oh,
means
let me check.
a lot for me.
Let me make sure this is on. Oh, it's on.
Yeah. Yeah, we know. Hold on.
No, you're right there. Just make sure you're close enough. There you go.
This?
Yeah.
This building means a lot to me, but in a very special, personal way. 10 years ago, my wife died, and I was trying to figure out who I was, where I fit into the world. And 3 months later, I just decided I need some spiritual growth. And this building was literally around the corner from my house. So it was very convenient. I came in, and this guy up here was the pastor. He had a beard. And he started speaking to me. And I don't think he knows how helpful he was. But Reverend Jim, every Sunday, had a sermon that was just like for me, and it helped a hell of a lot. I want to thank you. After I was here for 3 or 4 months, and the time I didn't want to talk to anybody. I sat in here, listened to Reverend Jim, and went home. And after about 3 or 4 months, I said, you know, if I'm going to be coming here every Sunday, I probably ought to go downstairs and meet some people and be friendly. So I did. And I ended up knowing a bunch of people down here, and I knew Bob Keller we were both in real estate. And so I was down there at fellowship, and something strange happened. All of a sudden, he had me volunteer to be in the kitchen angel. And I got to know people, and it just was something where I just felt like this was the right place. But as Reverend Jim said, church is not the building. The building is something that helps us meet each other, grow in it. And I felt that the reason I was coming back, aside from Reverend Jim, was because of the people. Everybody was friendly, everybody was helpful, and consistent with what we believe in, everybody was helping each other get better spiritually. So this building is important to me because it got me started in this direction. But the people are really what kept me here.
There has been a handful of people that have reached out to me and asked if they could share a few words. And so I'm going to, one by one, invite them up here, and then eventually just open up the floor that anybody would like to come forward. Jerry?
Good morning. My name is Jerry Bach. I was on the board the first 8.5 out of the 9 years that we were in existence, and I was president during much of those, during the transition from the motel to the office building. And I actually was on the finance committee and oversaw the purchase of this building. I thought you might like to know that, yes, this was the old Ada Bible Church. If you read their website, they'll say how they purchased a 3-acre piece of property in Ada in '93, and they sold it in '98. And when they were here at the end, they had 900 members and 3 services a day and moved on to their new home. So we came into a place that was filled with a lot of energy. And over the time, you know, I came in today, I really didn't know what I was gonna say. And I kind of thought I would be talking about the purchase of the building and some of the ups and downs that we've had. And anybody who's been involved in the church in any depth knows that every church has ups and downs. And when I looked around, I sat in the back and I've been looking around and I go, they sang in the choir. They were a Sunday school teacher. They planted flowers out in the front yard. They wore a vest and picked up trash on the side of the road under our Unity name. They served coffee. I watched them clean up and vacuum the floor to be ready for a wedding coming in that weekend. And the people have just been so phenomenal here, and no matter what happened, I always knew that deep down, Grand Rapids needed a Unity church. And so we always stuck with it, and we always struggled. We didn't always struggle through. We always made it through. And I'm proud of what I've done. But I'm more proud of what you have done. I am proud that you have come together, and that after all these years, we've brought it together. We're going to make Unity even bigger. Unity doesn't need a little Unity church. Unity needs a big Unity church. Grand Rapids needs a Unity church. And I'm proud of what you've done. You've brought it all together. We're moving forward. I bless this place goodbye, and I look forward to the future. Thank you.
Terry?
Good morning, I'm Terry Gates, and I joined Unity 45 years ago when David Drew was the minister. Is there anybody that predates me? Okay. I was curious about that. Who would be here that has been here for the long haul? So, interesting fact is that Unity changed my life, and I wanted to share a little bit about that. I became on the board almost immediately after I joined back in 1980, 1978 or so. And I was board president during the entire term of Dick Tweedy. And so we were a team, and I worked real closely with him. He was a very strong leader, and our church grew substantially. In fact, I could probably say that was the biggest growth in the history of Unity in Grand Rapids, was during Dick Tweedy's time. And I'm real proud to be a part of that. But as everybody's been saying, it was because of what was happening with the people in the church. And that's what I want to affirm, is that the people really made the difference in the growth of the church, because everybody was engaged and everybody was involved and everybody wanted to do their part. And that's what made Unity grow so much that we had to expand the sanctuary. We had to expand our Sunday school and fellowship area. And I can pinpoint a couple of events that were critical in the growth of unity of Grand Rapids. And one was the pig roast, Hawaiian luau. I don't know if you were there for that, but all of a sudden, it was Dick Vaughn's idea. He was president of the board at the time. He said, let's roast a pig and have a bunch of people come together and have a good time. We had a good time, and those people that were there became the part of the church that really connected. I started an auction, and people started the contracts, and one of the contracts was Judy Smith had offered a pool party at her house, and Kim and I bought it, and we invited all the people our age, sorry Jim and Ann, to attend this pool party at Judy Smith's house. And it was people our age, and they went on to become the leaders of the church. We all connected at this pool party, having a good time, and it was Jerry Bach and Laurie and Dan Braybrook and Jane, and I can name all these people, became the leaders of the church because we were invested in making sure that we connected, and we started doing golf outings and canoe outings, and everybody became involved in taking a part, and nobody wanted to be left out. Everybody wanted to do something. And that's what I envisioned for the future. So what happened at Unity in Walker helped fuel what happened in Unity here. And it was Dick Tweedy's vision. It didn't come out of a long-term strategic planning session. He just said to me one day, we don't need to be a mega church here on Walker. When we were expanding the sanctuary, he said, this is enough. We don't need a large church here. We need to plant another church on the opposite side of town. And I looked at all the zip code for Daily Word subscribers and pinpointed that where Calvary Church is at the Beltline and 96 was kind of the center of all the Daily Word readers. So it's like, okay, well, let's put something opposite of Unity of Walker, and so that's kind of how the dream began. Was Dick Tweedy was saying, we don't want to become bigger than we are. We need to get other people involved, you know. So I remember, Jim, you being in the choir with me. I think you sat right next to me, stood right next to me. And but the thing that really hit me, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but we took turns saying prayers. And one day you said the prayer, and I had no idea that you wanted to be a minister or even thought about being the minister. But you said the prayer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Jim, you should be a minister. Do you remember that? You don't. Anyway, I mean, it's that connection with other people that makes a difference. And that's kind of the theme here today, is we need to stay connected. We need to unify and be unity with the Walker Church, and we need to become engaged in the new church together, and everybody taking a little bit and doing what they can to participate and become involved.
Charles.
I'm a newcomer. I've only been here 20 years. I've actually been in Unity for 38 years, but I arrived here in May of 2002, and I was more or less passing through, as I had done for a number of years, as I did workshops and seminars around the nation, and I got sick. And by January of 2003, I had a full physical collapse and was hospitalized and was in St. Mary's in Mary Free Bed. People from the church stepped forward to help me. Reverend Jim came and visited twice while I was in the hospital. Numerous people helped me in any way they could. I haven't driven since then. I live in Heritage Hill, yet every week somebody comes and brings me to church and takes me home. And different people have stepped forward. The people who helped me the most in 2003 aren't even in the church anymore. Instead, they're new people. And this past summer, when I became terribly ill again from something different, Ray and Jennifer Jaglowski and Jim Nyman stepped forward and did whatever had to be done, and Mike came and visited with me. A church is the people, not the building. We are strong, we are united, and we move forward. God bless.
Thanks, brother. The floor is open for anybody else that would like to share. Yeah, come on.
I think I'm safe enough to take it off now. I started out at Unity of Walker. I was on the board for 5 years there during the transition from Nat and Suzanne to Beverly. And then I went on a trip, the only real trip out of the country, other than Canada, which nobody ever really counts, including people from Canada that come here, because I went to Israel, went to the Holy Land with James Twyman. And during that trip, we visited the Church of the Rock. And Jim, sitting on the rock, sang a beautiful song from Jesus Christ Superstar. While I was there, I got what was probably SARS. I don't think I've ever been so sick in my life. It lasted for months and months. Lots of trips to the emergency room. And during that time, I thought, maybe it isn't such a good fit at Walker anymore. Let's see what we can find. So my daughter, Gabby, and I came here one Sunday, and Ray sang the exact song that I had last heard in the Church of the Rock. And I said, okay, I'm home. So I joined the choir. I was an usher. I was a kitchen angel. In fact, at that point, I was the only angel. So we had a lot of store-bought cookies, and I made coffee, and we called it good. Then Arlene Wright took it over, and it became lunch, which was wonderful. I also got on the board for 3 years and realized, boy, I don't like being on the board anymore there than here. So I stuck to singing. And about almost 3 years ago, I got another bout of something. And I realized that my vocal cords seemed to be shredded. I had no problem singing today. During that time, I also couldn't breathe. And we found out that I had an aortic valve that had gone to hell. And it was trying to take me with it, but it didn't. I got a new valve last December. I can breathe, I can walk, and I've started to sing again. It won't sound like it did. I will tell you, I have more of a jazz voice than I have an operatic voice now. So thank you for being the love in my life. When Art passed, this place became more my home than my townhouse because I didn't want to be there. There were too many things that I would pick up and cry over, and decided, no, I think I'll stay at church for a while. So thank you. You've gotten me through so many things so often, and I love you all.
Georgia?
It's funny, I thought about speaking today, but what hit me when you mentioned Hope Monroe's funeral here, I've got to tell you this story around Hope Monroe joining this church. I moved here in 2004, and I was a Unity member on the other side of the state. So we found this church, and Mary Kay and I came. And a few years later, Mary Kay's my sister. A few years later, Hope moved in with us, and the three of us were together, the sisters. But she was Catholic, and that was fine. We never tried to talk her into becoming Unity. So she would drop us off here, and she'd drive down to St. Robert's, and she'd go to Mass, and then she'd come back here because we would stay after church. So she got to know everybody. And then she kind of found, and she did that for a good year or so. But then she realized when she went into St. Robert's, she never got to know anybody. Nobody ever talked to her. Nobody ever said anything. But when she came here, people knew she wasn't at church here, but they would talk to her and get to know her. And, a couple things happened, and people were sending her cards and stuff when she had a heart thing that went on. And she said to us one day, wow, St. Robert's doesn't even know I exist, but this church does. So she went to class to become a member, but she didn't come up the day to become the member. She wasn't positive. She'd been Catholic for 70 years. But not too long after that, she started having this heart arrhythmia thing, and she ended up in the emergency room, and she was terrified because she hadn't joined the church. So we were singing in choir that day. Hope and Mary Kay made me leave and come back to the choir. They went to the hospital. I talked to Reverend Jim, and I said she's scared because she's not a member, and she's afraid she's going to die before she becomes a member. And this minister over here went to the hospital that afternoon, brought her a certificate, and said, you've done everything you need to be a member of this church, and you are a member. And this is the church she was buried from. So I want you to know that.
Penny. Yeah, good idea. Do you want me to bring it to you? Or would you like to come up? Okay, perfect. Yeah.
I can't race up steps anymore.
Let me get this for you.
Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah, before the ankle surgery, I used to race the kids up the steps at the end of Sunday school, and the grown-ups would say, "Can't you make them come up quietly?" Well, no, they're kids. I'm Penny Nyman. I joined Unity in 1980. And I love Unity. And it has, ups and downs. Right now, I think that we are having a little bit of an awkward stage in our growing up because I notice my friend Sherry Bowers isn't here, and her family isn't here either. They're alive, and most of her friends are not here either. So I'm hoping that we can get through this awkward stage, and it won't be okay to treat somebody the way my friend was treated. I come occasionally. I come a lot online, thank goodness for the YouTube. And I come here when there's, something important going on. And I send about half of my money, so I do still tithe, sorta. But I would like us to get through this awkward stage and have it not be okay to treat somebody that way for any reason. So bear with me, and I won't be racing kids up the stairs. I will miss them. Thanks, everybody.
There's a stranger.
I hope I can get through this. I almost couldn't make it through the Weave song because I miss this so much. I became a member of Unity back in 1970. I was an actor on Broadway, and the cast was coming to Unity, Eric Butterworth's church. All right, you want to see 3,000 New Yorkers stand up holding each other and singing "Let There Be Peace on Earth"? It was amazing. Anyway, I all through my adult life, I've been looking for unity after that, when we moved from New York to Florida. And I was singing in a Catholic church, the cathedral in Orlando. And at the end of this service, I'd be rushing over to Unity. I said, "Hey, I need a Unity fix." Well, and I'm a recovering Catholic. So, it brought so much to feel. There was no intellectual, there was no ritual, there was no mysticism. There was here we are, just us. And so when we came here back in '96, we were looking for another home, another spiritual home. And the Unity Church, or what is it called? The Universalist Church downtown just didn't do it. There wasn't enough God in it or something. And we went to Walker, and that was okay. But then we found this church, and oh my God, it was like coming home. And I just look forward to the people. As he said, the church is the people. And you know what? You know how to get people to get to know people? Try having them sing in front of you. All right? And I was the choir director for a while, and it was just a wonderful experience. I met some wonderful personalities. Mouth over here was just amazing. Georgia and I used to have fun together because she wouldn't take anything. She would stand up and say, "That," and I love her for that. And she, being able to express yourself openly is such a wonderful feeling. And our choir used to do that. There was no, it's whatever you feel, everything's okay. There was no judgment. We were there to experience the spiritual quality and what it felt like to have your body resonate in harmony with the vibration of the earth and with the vibration of spirit. And it was such an uplifting thing. We weren't a big choir, but we had fun. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience, which I missed terribly. And I'm looking forward to the new church, and maybe we can start again. All right. I just wanted to tell you that this is such a rare group of people. Please stay together. Please understand how incredibly rare this is, where you have people so in touch with each other on that level. You don't get this anywhere else. So please, let's all continue. God bless all of you.
Can't help myself. I'm like, I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to get up. Here I am. So I'm Janie. And oh man, looking at some of these faces makes me feel like I've been around a while. And so have they. But I started with Unity, I don't know, I'm trying to sit back and think, was it about 35, 36 years ago? I know it was when Dick Tweedy was at Unity. I think it was his last year there, and I'd had a lot of different styles of religion in my life, and then when I was in my 20s, I needed to find something that really seemed to speak to my heart, and so I just, Unity came to me. I don't even remember how. I think a friend invited me, and I fell in love. And Unity has been in my heart ever since then. And it'll never go away. Whether I'm here, whether I'm on Zoom, it's there. So I just mainly wanted to just thank Jim and Ann. I was one of their groupies. And I was part of the choir here and helped do some vacuuming. And we had a really good time in the years that I was here. And I'm just grateful to be back. And I am looking forward to the new church. I think it's going to be wonderful. I hope many of you here are too. And if you are, maybe we'll see you there.
Hi, I'm Beth. So let's see. I said I'm not going to cry, so gotta toughen up. So 12 years ago, I remarried and moved here, and my husband said, you really need to come to this church because this minister is awesome. So I had no spiritual love in my heart. I was somewhat of an angry person because I had gone through a really awful divorce and things were just not right. But anyway, so I came with him, and I walked in here and listened to Reverend Jim talk, and he was amazing. And then I walked out into the hallway, and I met Bob Hardesty and Lois, and then they introduced me to A Course in Miracles, which was life-changing for me. Let's see. I guess I can just say that the people I've met here touch my heart. That's why I'm so emotional, because, the change in my life from everybody here has been extraordinary, and I miss so many of those people. I hope that as time goes on, I'll see the people that have touched me so much. I mean, they're scattered everywhere, and I hope to meet new friends as we progress here. This church has meant a lot to me, not the physical piece of it, of course, but the people that have touched me so much, and I'm grateful.
Joy?
Hello, everyone. I'm Joy Morgan. It's great to see all of you, especially Reverend Jim and Ann. I was one of those people wearing the vests and picking up garbage. I was in charge of that group for a while. And it's nice to see everyone. The first time I came into this church, I was carrying my 6-month-old baby, looking for a place for my kids, my family to come and have a church. And I heard Reverend Jim, and I was hooked, and just kept coming back. And I have some great memories of You Are Walking in the Light. Remember how we used to sing the kids in? My kids were some of the ones noisy, running up the stairs. I have some really great memories of that. And I just wanted to say thank you, especially to Reverend Jim. And my kids were blessed here in the church when they were like 1.5, 3 years old. I have 2 boys. And you remember sprinkling red rose petals on them. And my youngest tried to eat the rose petals, so we stopped that. But I have some great memories of that. And I have to leave after this service because I'm going to take my son out for his 20th birthday today. So he's a student at MSU, electrical engineer, soon to be. So just thank you to this wonderful church for all these great faces. And it's good to see all of you. Thank you.
Lori?
So Terry knows this is really hard for me. I hate talking in front of grown-ups. I am a first grade teacher, so I'm going to pretend you're all 6. When Terry says he's been here for 45 years, anybody been here longer? I raised my hand, and so did my brother Chuck. I've been here 65 years. So it's been a very long time. I was at, yeah, I don't look that old, do I? My kids think at school I'm 45. But I wanted to let you know that this is a really exciting time for Unity in Grand Rapids, that it's really hard to sell this church. It's really hard to sell the Walker Church. We've talked to my dad who built the Walker Church, and we said, Dad, how do you feel about it? And he said, it's a building. It's a building. It's the people, and you're going to find another building. It's just a building. It's the consciousness. It's what we believe. It's who we are that makes a church. It's not the building. So God bless this church. God bless Walker. God bless all the people, and that we can come together as Unity of Grand Rapids and all be one.
Okay. Oh, Dan, did you want? Oh, Karen? Yeah. You'll be okay. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do Karen. We're going to do Dan, and then that's gonna do it. I think, just from a time standpoint, unless somebody really wants to go. So I don't want.
Hello. My name is Karen Robinson, and my spiritual journey with Unity began before I was born. Now, I say that because my parents met at a Bible college at Bob Jones University in South Carolina. My dad got his own church, became a minister of a Baptist church. Had that for a number of years. They did mission work. I was raised in the church. Then we moved out of Baptist into Pentecostal. Through my parents' transitions throughout their life, they were exploring different things as life happened. My sister died, and that created some transitions as well. Their spiritual journey led them to metaphysical studies and just seeking answers, which led them to Unity. I've gone to Unity churches throughout the course of my life. But here in Michigan, I started my Unity journey at the Walker Church. in 2003. 2003 was a very special year because that was the year I got married. My dad had to wait to come to marry me because he was sick. So that was a couple years, and I told him, not getting married unless you give me away. So he had to really buck up to get here. The minister from the Walker Church actually performed our ceremony at Davenport University that used to be down on Fulton before it moved, in one of the historical architectural buildings that was just gorgeous. And I talked my husband into going to Unity with me. I'm like, you'll love Unity. It's not like the typical church, because he didn't really like the hypocrisy of the typical church that he grew up in and seeing his whole life. And he had pretty much written off going to church in general. I was like, let's go. So we went. It was wonderful. Over the course of the years, it was the people at that church that kept us there. Over the course of the years, with transitions and change, it was the people at that church that led us to leave that church because of the changes that took place there. And I began to hear a speaker that was a visiting minister at the Walker Church named Dick Ammons. Dick and Betty were phenomenal. And Dick said, you know, Karen, I know how involved you guys are. And my mom was on the board at that church at the time. And he said, you should try this church in Ada. There's this guy there, Reverend Ashby, that I think you guys would just love. And it might be a good fit. I wasn't sure. I'm a loyalist, right? When I commit to something, I'm committed. And I was committed to that church because that's where I became a member. It was the minister there that had married my husband and I. My kids were in the youth ministry. My mom was on the board. She was part of the youth ministry there. There was just a lot. How could I betray that church to come here? That's like cheating on a spouse. But you know what? I just felt led to come visit. And gosh darn it, the day I decided to come, you decided to retire.
Don't take it personal.
I'm telling you what, I felt cheated. But who is the guest minister that day I came? Dick Ammons again. And I was like, this is serendipity. What is going on? But the people here didn't know me, but they were so welcoming. And it was just a phenomenal experience. And in life, as life happens, things began to happen in my own personal life. And in 2014, I was involved in a really bad wreck. I was in the hospital for several months. Didn't know if I was going to make it. Had to learn to walk again. And I'll save you all the rest of those gory details. But the church was there for my family. I had lost my job. I had lost my income. We went from a 2-parent household down to 1 income household, still 2 parents, just 1 income. The church brought groceries to our home. The church was there for my kids. They were there for my husband. They were there for my mom. They were there for me, even though I didn't know it at the time. And I'm grateful. I've watched this church go through a number of transitions over the years. I've gone through my own transitions over the years. There was a time when I wasn't able to come at all because I was in a wheelchair and I just wasn't able to make it. I was so delighted when you guys went online because I could participate virtually. Kind of our new way of doing things now, right? But what a blessing to be able to marry technology with what we do here in person to incorporate the global good and the energy of love and divine presence with everyone from here and beyond. And I still was allowed to feel a part of something bigger than myself. And I know that this church is going through transitions again. It always will. It always does. It's a part of life, a metamorphic experience, right? I find myself curious about what's going to happen, cautious, optimistically excited, present in my own thought and emotion about the changes that are coming. I even thought about giving up coming altogether at one point. And then there was this one gal, you know, life has a way of bringing people into your life. There was this one gal my mom was friends with. Her name was Maureen Vanderbeek. Maureen came to me and said, Karen, this is while I was recovering from the wreck. She said, I know you're really struggling with your speech. She said, I struggle with my speech too. She said, there's something I'd like you to do, something that's at Unity that I think you would really enjoy. It would help you. And I'm like, what's that? She said, two things. A Course in Miracles. We have a workshop that's there. I have all the books. So I was like, interesting. The second thing was, there's a club that I'm a part of called the Law of Attraction Toastmasters. And they would be able to help you develop your speaking skills and your confidence and your leadership skills. And I was like, no way. Well, to make a long story much shorter, I've been with the Law of Attraction Toastmasters now for 4 years, and I'm an officer with that club. I'm mentioning that because you wanted us to talk about the memories of this building. The memories of this building helped me continue my Unity journey, but it also helped me continue my rehabilitation journey. I kept being brought back here, not just for the church part, but for the people part in different forms. And I just want to encourage all of you to keep coming back here. Now, when I say here, I don't mean this building. I mean the part inside of you that guides you to community, that guides you to unity. Wherever unity is, wherever you find it, wherever you build it, they will come. Thank you.
Well, for most of my 40 years with Unity, nobody knew who I was if I did my job right, because I do the sound and everything else all these years. So as I look through my life, and when Terry Gates talked about the luau, that was the first time my wife and I, Benita, went to the luau. and the pig was charred on the outside and raw in the middle. And we also walked in with Carol Johnson. We did not know she was the entertainment. So we're sitting there at the table and everything else, and we're talking, and same kind of story. We went to different churches, and unity seemed right. And we're talking to her, and then they introduce her, and she gets up, and she's playing the guitar and everything else. I said, wow, this is something. So we decided, my son and daughter were born, Neil was born in 82, and that's when we joined the church. And then I looked at that pig situation, and I said, we got to fix this. So my cousin's husband, their parents have a hog farm in Lowell. And I told him about the situation. He says, yeah, come out there. We're out there, and he says, how many people? I says, probably about 150. And he says, that one over there. And I says, so what do we do? It's all taken care of. We'll take it up to this guy in Greenville that he'll smoke the whole pig. He can put the apple in the mouth. And so that was all set. We went up there, we went up there to go get the pig, and there was some big flood. You couldn't get over to 131 and get back in there. So we had made a stretcher to put the pig on, and it was in our station wagon, and the face was right here. And I'm trying to think of the guy went with me, but we were stuck there. They wouldn't let you try. So we're sitting there, and it smelled so good. And I whipped out my Swiss Army knife. I said, cut the cheeks off. That's the best meat. So we got back to the church. We laid it all out. We cut it all up. And I can't remember whether Tweety says, what happened to that pig's face? I says, we couldn't help ourselves. And I looked through the years of when they talked about when we set up the sound. I did the sound over there at Walker Street. And then when Jim and Ann went to ministerial school, and they started a new place. And yes, the Kecks brought us the equipment. We brought it up there, but you still got to get it all set up and everything else. So we went through all that kind of stuff. And then when we moved over to the new church, we had to get that all up and going. So in the background, I just kind of, okay, get this working. And then they moved to this church, and we finally got projectors. We started out, even got some pictures I could show later downstairs of, we had an overhead projector, and that's how we did our slides and everything else. And then when we got this whole setup here, then that was a whole new ball game, and we got that all up. Well, then when Reverend Jim retired, I decided it's been long enough, so I retired. And then I think Jim McFadden there had some knee surgery, hip surgery, something. You're going to be gone for a long time. So they called me up and said, would you come in and help us? I said, and they said, for about 3 months. That was, I think, coming up on 5 years now. So through this whole situation with this church, it's almost been like a job, because I worked on maintenance. I think I was one of the first male kitchen angels, because I have quite a few culinary skills that once that Lynn found out I could cut up a watermelon very artfully, that and she was my first partner on Kitchen Angelings. So I looked through the years. The church is closing down. What I'm not looking forward to is I got to climb up through the hole in the wall in the bathroom, come up here, take all this stuff down. And unfortunately, it's not going to be able to fit in the other church. So I've been working with Sweetwater. When I told them what I wanted to do with put the equivalent of sound bars up for the ceiling, and he says, can I get back with you on that? And this Matt at Sweetwater, when I started working with him, he was just a kid. And then he got married. And then he got 4 kids. And when I talked to him the other day, he's retiring. So it's been a privilege and an honor to serve you and keep you sounding good and looking good on the screen here. And once I get over the other church, then I'm going to retire for like the 4th time. And you won't be able to find me because I'm going to be a gypsy and go from one side of the country to the other. When I do that, my other plan is to go to Australia, to the town of Braybrook, my last name, and make contact with whatever relatives I still have there. So again, it's been great serving you all these years, and I wouldn't change it for a minute.
Thank you. Thank you for some amazing stories. And I'm not going to drag this on, but I'm going to tell you that I've had a pretty rich history in this building. As I walked in it over 20 years ago, and I just remember Reverend Ann getting up and saying, you know, I think we might need some help with the teenagers, YOU. Sounds good to me. So Spirit nudged me in that direction. And so I spent 9 years down there. I remember spending time with Andrea and Tim and some of your kids down there for that long. And then just like that, Spirit said, done. It's time to move on. And then I started doing workshops. So I started working with the big kids. Started doing workshops and occasionally would talk up here. And then all of a sudden somebody said, hey, Mike, we'd like to have you sit on the board. Okay, I guess that's what I'm going to do. And so sat on the board for 6 years with many of you in this room. And then when I came off the board, just before I came off, Reverend Jim was hosting a class, middle of the summer, called Keys to the Kingdom. Some of you may have been in that class. I remember walking in the class, and all of a sudden, this woman walks in. I've been sitting here my whole life thinking that maybe it would be really cool if I got a chance to meet somebody here. And it never happened, as long as I'd been here. And at first, it was just a conversation here and there. And then, all of a sudden, it became another conversation that led into another conversation that led into another conversation. Until finally, we were married. By the way, my wife, Leah, sends her love. She works on the weekends often, and she can't be here. But we met here. Downstairs, I can tell you the exact foot where I was sitting when she walked in the door. A few years goes by, and all of a sudden, I get a phone call from Charles. Charles says, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. I said, okay. And he says, we need some help. You have to understand something, that for quite a long time, in the back of my mind was thinking, minister, not minister, maybe not, maybe not. And there was a moment where I said, no, I'm done. I'm letting it go. And so I kind of started pulling away. Charles says, we need some help. Would you mind stepping in for a minute? Absolutely. I'm here. That was over 3 years ago, over 4 years ago now. Next thing I know, I'm having a conversation with Bill Bussey, And next thing I know, I become the spiritual leader of this church. Next thing I know, I'm in the ministerial program. Next thing I know, I'm on a regional call, and all of a sudden Chuck Pearson's sitting there. What's Chuck doing on this call? Next thing I know, the two of us are having lunch. The next thing I know, we're talking about the two churches coming together. Spirit is always working behind the scenes. Always. I always say God is like gravity. It's always on. God is always on. And even though we may not see it in the moment, clearly, in my opinion, this outpouring of love that we have shared in this building has been something that has gone beyond even understanding. And all of you have played your own role in that. And so for one last time, I'm going to ask us to join in prayer and just take a minute and just say, thank you, God. Thank you, building, for this amazing opportunity that you've given us, for the friends that we've made, for the times that we've had, for the hugs that we've had, for the tears that we've shed. You have been a loyal servant. We release you now in love so that you can continue on with your destiny as we continue on with ours. You've been an amazing friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, building. Thank you, God. Amen.